we will add and subtract polynomials. Before we add and subtract polynomials, we need to understand how to add and subtract like terms. So if we have 3x plus 5y plus 4x, this is saying we have three dogs and plus 5 cats plus 4 dogs. So how many dogs do we actually have? Well, 3 plus 4 is 7. We have 7 dogs and 5 cats. Just like that. We cannot say this is 12 cat dogs. We just can't do that. We can't combine the x and the y together by adding. If we were to multiply, that would be a different story. But the last name, you can also think of these as the last names. We have 3 Smiths and 4 Smiths. Well, that will be 7 Smiths altogether. So the variable sequence at the back of a coefficient has to be exactly the same in order to add the coefficients. So let's go ahead and start adding and subtracting polynomials. So let's go ahead and add polynomials first. So we have negative 5x squared minus 3x minus 8 plus 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. So what we're going to do is add like terms. So we have x squareds first. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. Then we'll have x squared. We have a negative 3x and a positive 4x. So we have a plus x. And then we have a negative 8 plus negative 7, which is a negative 15. And we're finished. Let's work another one. 5x squared minus xy minus 8 plus 3y squared plus 4xy plus 12. Okay, so the very first thing I do is look at my x squared. I'm just drawn to it. So if we look at x squared, we have no x squared here. So we are just going to place 5x squared right here. We have a negative 1xy, and here's another xy. So negative 1 plus 4xy, negative 1 plus 4 is positive 3xy. And then we have this negative 8 plus 12, that's going to be a plus 4. But then what about this lonely guy, this 3y squared? We're just going to attach it to the end. Okay, and that's okay if you have this in this order. Sometimes we may switch these two around. There's so many ways to order or put your terms in order. If they have double variables, I'm not that picky on how they are ordered, just as long as the sign in front matches the sign I have for an answer. So 4x squared plus 4x minus 6 plus negative 2x squared minus 2x plus 8. We have x squared, so 4 plus negative 2 is 2, and then we have x squared. 4 plus negative 2, and they both have x for their last name, is a plus 2x. And then the negative 6 plus 8, that's going to give us a 2. Okay, so simple enough. And since this is in one variable, always lead with your largest exponent and then go numerical order or decrease in your value. Subtracting polynomials. So what we're going to do is actually add the opposite, or simply distribute the subtraction sign. So here is my rule for you guys. Anytime you see a negative in front of a parentheses, distribute that negative through, and then all you have to do is add like terms. And it's a lot easier than than subtracting a negative value. So x squared plus 3x minus 5, we're going to subtract that from 4x squared minus 2x minus 5. So simply, before we add the opposite or distribute the subtraction sign, how we would go about this is x squared minus 4x squared. That's not too bad to figure. 3x minus negative 2x. That's a little harder to figure in your head. Negative 5 minus negative 5. That could become a little tricky as well with the double negative. So to make life easier, we are going to distribute that sign through. So this first one is going to stay the same, and I'm going to write it without the parentheses. The next term will be a negative 4x squared, and then a positive 2x, and then a positive 5. Add like terms, so we get a negative 3x squared, we get a positive 5x, and a negative 5 plus 5, that's a 0. So we are finished. So let's practice. 5x squared minus 3x plus 14 minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 8. We have a negative or a subtraction in front of our parentheses. I know that's supposed to be a subtraction, but when I look at that just as a term, because this whole thing can be a term in a way, we'll get to that later, but if we're subtracting this whole thing, it would be no different than saying, hey, we have a negative 2 out here, and we're going to distribute that negative 2 through. So essentially we have a negative 1. So I see this as a negative 1 times this whole quantity. So anytime you see a negative or a subtraction sign in front of the parentheses, distribute that guy through, because then you can add like terms and not make too many mistakes. So add those. That will be 2x squared. Negative 3x plus negative 4x would be a negative 7x. And then our last ones would be a plus 22. Let's look at some linear combinations of polynomials. So we're subtracting or adding, but instead of just distributing the negative, we may have something more. So consider this subtraction problem. So anytime we have a number in front of the parentheses, we are going to distribute that through. This is not only a positive 2, it's actually a negative 2. We are going to distribute that as if it's a negative 2 because technically it is. We're going to distribute that through. And then when we are finished distributing, we can add like terms. So 15x squared minus 9x plus 52 minus 6x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now we can add like terms. 9x squared, sorry. 9x squared minus 17x plus 68. And we're done. Let's look at one more, or two more. However many more I feel. Let's do an addition one. That's a plus 12 at the end. Okay. Order of operations state we need to get rid of the parentheses. That's another good way to think of this. So we have to distribute this 2 through. And then this 7 is not only just 7, but it is a positive 7 because of the sign in front. And then we add like terms. Well, let's see here. We don't have an x squared. Let's see here. These two match up, so that's going to be a 26xy. These two match up, so let's see here. 84 plus negative 16 or minus 16. That's going to give us a 68. And then this guy here, we can just bring him down because he had nobody to add. We cannot add x squared and y squared together. It just will not work. Okay, one more subtraction, and then I'll end the video. Okay. Distribute. This is not a positive 6, but it is a negative 6. So we are going to distribute it like a negative 6. So let's distribute the 4 at first. 32x squared plus 12x plus 16y minus 8 minus 12y squared plus 12x plus 24y minus 12. A lot is going on here, but we'll take it one at a time. One thing I also do is I notice that we have 2 squareds here, but they don't match up. So I am going to go ahead and place them below and make sure you use the sign in front. And I crossed them out, so I know I'm done using them. And then we can work with our x's, which that's going to give us a 24x. And then, oh, we have some y's here. So that's going to give us a 40 plus 40y. And then we have some constants, which would give us a negative 20. So here is our polynomial of 5 terms. Nothing else will add together. And we're done. This will conclude this video.